We're going to shift now and talk about some specific strategies that different institutions use around the country. And I'm going to give you 3 or 4 sort of broad examples that we have found at different kinds of institutions, and then talk about really more comprehensive kinds of changes that both of our institutions have taken. But in any workload conversation at any institution, it's critically important from our perspective that the community engage in a conversation and define some principles that drive the workload model change. And in particular, they need to be transparent. So there needs to be good community conversation and openness about what those principles are and how they're important to the mission of the institution, how that aligns with everything that we've just presented in the beginning. It's critically important that you don't have a tiered system of faculty. And importantly, associated with that is that all faculty members, the contributions of all faculty members need to be highly valued. Those contributions may come in the different areas that are supporting the institution at different levels at different points through one's career, but all contributions need to be valued and they don't need to be tiered. So let us give you kind of 3 systems that exist out there, and then we'll talk about TC&J and Stetson in a bit more detail. These are what we call banking systems. There are a number of institutions that use these. So in this particular case, students would formally enroll in a credit-bearing independent research course, an independent study course, an internship course, or any other kind of high-impact experiential course. So students are formally enrolling in the course, paying tuition for the course, bearing credit for that. The enrollment records by the instructor are then kept, and the instructors accrue teaching credit at whatever rate the institution has determined. And there's all kinds of rates and valuations across higher education. Once a full course unit worth of credit has been accrued, then the instructor receives a course reassignment for that. A lot of institutions use these. They work very effectively, those institutions. I personally am not crazy about them in that context because the credit often doesn't come when you need it. If you're writing a book now, right? You're not writing a book in 4 semesters when you might get a course or 2 courses of reassignment. But this is one mechanism that can work quite well. And different institutions explore it differently. There are other systems that we would sort of pigeonhole as departmental systems. And there are pros and cons to these as well. Here, students formally enroll in credit-bearing, independent research, or other types of courses. So the key here is they're credit-bearing. Students are signing up, they're paying tuition for it. The cumulative student credit hours generated are then used in a coordinated and shared way by the department via a rotation plan. This is, I don't know how, this is common at a number of public institutions where the currency is student credit hour generation. So in a broader system, each institution or each unit within the system has to create a certain number of credit hours per unit. So in this particular case, if one faculty member has 1 student, another faculty member has another student, individually it's not enough to merit a course, but departmentally it's enough to merit 2 courses, or 1 course, or 3 courses, or 4 courses, or whatever it is. So depending on how many faculty members, it rotates. So every faculty member might get a course reassignment every 2nd semester, every 3rd semester, every 4th semester. Make sense?
That model has traditionally been most common for capstone or senior research, honors theses. That's probably where we've seen it most.
Right. Here's another system that a number of institutions use in a variety of ways, and what we call them as fixed and flexible weighting systems. So here the overall load of each faculty member is determined at some regular interval, annually, biannually, triannually. Different institutions have different cycles. And the overall load includes both a fixed component and a negotiated component. So one institution that does this pretty interestingly, the minimum amount effort in teaching is 50%, the minimum amount in research or scholarship or creative work is 10%, and in service is 10%. That leaves 30% to be negotiated by the faculty member on this annual or biannual basis. And this provides for flexibility, provides for transparency, provides for growth during one's career. If someone is working on a book project or writing a grant proposal or doing grant work, they might need more time in research. If they're serving as the institution's the institution's curriculum committee chair and shepherding a general education change through, for example, they might need more time or one time in service at that particular point. And that's going to shift over one's career. So that's a model that works at a lot of institutions. It's critical here, however, to align the annual or biannual evaluation and expectations of the work with the negotiated workload. I did a consultation at a campus one time that had something like this, and someone had negotiated X number more in teaching or X number more in research, but the expectations were the same, no matter the fact that there was a differential negotiated sort of rate. So the outcomes expected, the nature of the work needs to reflect that negotiated program.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We used to have an evaluation system whereby at the end of the year you said what percentage you did in each of these categories. This is a model, and that was a little odd. This is a model where you actually negotiate this up front.
Right.
And then you say, okay, for the next year, 2 years, 3 years,
Exactly.
we'll do.
And it's prospective, and it allows you to adequately plan.
Right.
And and resource-wise for the individual departments and for the institution budgetarily, you need to plan to be able to offer the experiences for the students that they need, and so on and so forth, hire the adjuncts and so on. So it needs to balance out across the campus, absolutely.